Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us in this webinar about music suitable for choirs of 6. Our guest today is David Ogden, who has an even longer association with the RSCM than I have. David has been choosing the anthems for Sunday by Sunday since its inception back in the last century, so has a massive knowledge of music for all sorts of choirs. He is also the editor of the RSCM anthem book for sopranos, altos, and men. David, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Now, if you have any questions, please click the Q&A button on the bottom of your Zoom screen and submit it, and we'll come to them at the end. Let's pass over to David, and we'll look at music for choirs of 6.
Oh, thanks very much, Tim, and good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you. So we find ourselves in a very strange situation at the moment, and I think we're all kind of wondering what are the potential, what can we do? I run music in Westbury-on-Trim, Holy Trinity Westbury-on-Trim in Bristol, which is a village church. It's a parish church. And probably like most churches, it has a choir that maybe is a mixture of adults and children. And we're really in a pickle at the moment trying to work out a musical plan every week with only 6 people, or with some children, with some adults, with all the children. And it's led me, even after 30 years or even longer being involved in church music, to actually being not only frustrated in the situation, which I'm sure we all share, but also just thinking about ways that we can make the music work on a Sunday morning and how we can be as creative as we can. And I've kind of tried to get around this, or tried to make the music as interesting as we can, and as fulfilling for the singers and for the congregation as we can, by just almost kind of going back to basics. And just saying, well, what do we actually need in this service? What speaks the most, if you like? So as Tim said, even though I've been editing this magazine Sunday by Sunday for well, when you said the last century, Tim, it sounded like I was very, very old. But we're now on issue 98, which and we have 4 a year, so you can work out how many years that is. But I actually went back to it myself and thought, right, well, let's look at the things that might actually work. And the kind of areas that I've been looking at are in the first section, where it says the flexible anthems there, but also the other parts like the Iona music and the singing the psalm, whereas the music is there a bit more straightforward, a bit simpler, if you like, based on a tune which is then elaborated. So, you know, a melody which everybody can sing. Now, the fact that the congregation are not allowed to sing at the moment means that if you have singers, the choir, they can be creative in what they do. So, for instance, I've kind of just explored a bit more the chants that you can and things find, you know, probably in the resources you've already got, but also the chants that's in the ancient and modern hymn book. There's a section at the back, short chants. So, for instance, this week the gospel is the calming of the storm, Jesus calming the storm. And so we're just going to start the service with Margaret Ritz's beautiful chant, "Calm me, Lord, as you calm the storm," which can be sung in unison. It could be sung with the organ, or it could be sung with 4 parts, SATB if you've got them, and then a little desk over the top. So you could just do about, you know, with 6 singers, be quite creative. But also looking at other chants and other simple music suggested in Sunday by Sunday. Because one of the problems with only have 6 singers is actually the balance with the organ, or balance with an accompaniment. So you actually think about how those singers are going to maybe sing a verse unaccompanied. You know, we all know once in Royal David City, the power that first verse has on a carol service. You know, think about how to structure the hymns in a much more creative way rather than all the way through. And in fact, you might find you actually don't need that many hymns at all. So just some simple pieces to punctuate the service, it would be really good, and actually could be very effective. So moving on from that, and just looking to when we will hopefully be able to gather back with more than 6 singers, we will be looking at some pieces now that are for in 3 parts. Some pieces that, you know, we've looked at, thought about some pieces in 1 part and 2 parts, just to be creative, but some things in 3 parts: S, soprano, alto, and men. And Tim and I came up with the idea of our book, the SA Anthems for SA Men, a couple of years ago, didn't we, Tim?
We did.
And originally we looked around for pieces that were existed, but we actually found, A, there wasn't very much, and B, it was quite obscure and was a bit dated, and we didn't think it would really help the worshipping community today. We wanted to express the themes that come out from the Sunday readings.
It was also quite, sorry David, it was quite difficult to find music that would sort of arch the church year. So
exactly. I mean, when we're planning Sunday to Sunday, I look at the readings and we get some suggestions, and I think, how many anthems do I know about the beheading of John the Baptist, or whatever it might be, or healing, or you know, the particular themes that come from the Gospels, which is to some extent our impetus for what the things we choose. So we commissioned a number of pieces, and in the book themselves, there's, I don't know, if you've got a book, you might get it to hand so you can refer to some of the pieces that we mentioned. But basically there's 30 anthems in there, most of which have been recommissioned, some of them are old pieces which have been made into 3 parts, but very few of them, most of the commission. We've got 5 pieces by women composers, which you may be surprised is actually a first in anthem books and collections. So we're really pleased that we have a broad range of composers, young and old, some from cathedrals and some from parish churches, and some from schools as well. So we hope it's a worthwhile collection. So looking at what we're going to do now in this situation, however it might last, you know, the next couple of months or whatever, and then what we might be able to do when choirs finally come back and you realize that you haven't got so many singers as you thought you had, or some of them have found something else to do on a Sunday morning, or whatever the situation is. We want to introduce you to this book, and we hope that you know, you might find the pieces that we're doing valuable and helpful. So anything else? I think anything else, Tim, on that? I think that was.
I think that's about it. Yes. Yeah. Let's look at the first piece.
Excellent. Okay, so we thought we'd start with a piece by Richard Shepherd, who you may know died very recently, and he's been a regular contributor to RSCM collections and anthems over many years, and he writes in a very accessible and meaningful way. So we're going to look at an anthem now called Author of Life Divine, and it starts with just the melody, and then that melody is decorated by an alto line, and then on the next page the bass comes in. So it's a gradually building up of the texture. Part of the challenge for writing in 3 parts is just creating that variety in texture, and I think a lot of the composers in here have been really inventive about how they've done it. So let's just listen to a bit of this now. We're going to go from the middle of the section, middle of the anthem. So you'll hear the organ, and then you'll hear the men singing, and then that's dialogued with the sopranos and altos. So this is Author of Life Divine by Richard Shepherd. Thank you. So you can see that that was halfway through. So the anthems are quite short, which allows you to really get inside them, to really learn them properly, you know, with limited rehearsal time. And also very effective. They can fit in the service without people complaining the anthem's too long, particularly if the congregation can't sing. I found that in my church, actually, they're saying, well, you know, what if we can't sing, you know, why should the choir be singing? It's just, and I think if the choir is just, you know, contributing small bits within the service just to punctuate the liturgy, I think that really works very well.
That's quite interesting, because I'm sort of get a slightly different view from the congregation in my church, who are so pleased to hear some singing happening live in church, that, you know, they're really getting something out of it, and probably more than, you know, 2 years ago, when it was just a natural thing to have happened, and they probably took it slightly for granted.
Yes, I was talking about the other half of the congregation. One half of the congregation loves the music, and the other one, you know, it's as you get in most
themselves. Yeah. One of the lovely things about that recording, actually, it was broadcast from St Martin's in the Fields about a couple of months before Richard died, and he was able to hear it, and was absolutely he was really pleased and touched by it. So
yeah. No, that's really lovely. It's just you know, really simple and effective piece. Now, just moving on to a piece by Thomas Hewitt Jones. Now this, if we can just have a PDF of Hosanna to the Son of David up. And this is a piece that's basically written to sing outside. So now, obviously, this is Palm Sunday, but you could sing it in Advent as well. Blessed is he, the King that cometh in the name of the Lord. So you've just got... that kind of fanfare, says bold and jubilant at the beginning, and you can imagine your singers singing that quite, not raucously, but singing outside confidently. This is a kind of tune that would work outside, and then lots of repetition, just as, you know, the children of Jerusalem shouting with their olive branches and whatever. Quite an effective and atmospheric piece, but also quite simple. And then notice down at the bottom on bar 8, you know, you've got the 3-part harmony. It's always a challenge when you're writing for men, just as one part, just to kind of get the range right, so the tenor's not trying to sing too low and the bass is not trying to sing too high. So hopefully we have edited the pieces So they are, you know, they're comfortable. There is a bit high cometh in the name of the Lord for the basses, but you'll generally see that's the general the tessitura of the men in that bit. Okay, so that's just an idea of some piece you could sing outside. You know, and even the congregation could join in with hosannas if you train them well enough. Just a bit of variety there. So let's move on to a piece by a woman composer. That's Amy Summers. And she set the words of Love Divine, that well-known hymn. Again, this is a piece you could do with just 6 singers. And in fact, we're going to watch a video of my choir, 6 singers of my choir in Westbury-on-Trim singing it. So Amy comes from Bristol and has studied in Nottingham and also in Trinity College in London. So the composition there is now up and coming, rising composer. She sang in lots of choirs and writes really cantabile melodies all the way through. Love divine, all love's excess. And develops that all the way, that idea all the way through. This is really effective because we've got a bit of unison, we've got a bit of 3-part writing, and then we've got a nice solid descant at the end, which people really like singing. So if you're thinking about 6 people, something like this, you may have 2 sopranos, 2 altos, tenor and bass, something like that. So then the tenor and bass can join together on the unison men bits, yeah, or whatever, 3 sopranos, 1 alto, 1 tenor, 1 bass. You know, you have to be quite creative. Let's listen to a bit of this. So this is the end of Love Divine or Love's Excelling by Amy Summers. Listen to the end when we get to it. How we have a unison in the, and then a descant. Okay, nice, and it's kind of soaring over the top. Thank you. So as you can see from that video, I've tried to mix adults and children. I think it's really important. I made a kind of conscious decision at the beginning of all this to prioritize the children singing. And it's been really hard because you've had to tell adults and you've had to tell the other children are not there. We have about 12 children in our choir, 12, 13, that they can't sing this Sunday. And that's something I've never had to do, as I'm sure many of you will appreciate, never had to do in however many years of choir directing in parishes and cathedrals and what have you. Normally you're kind of begging people to sing on a Sunday morning. So it's a really, really strange situation.
David, did you have, I mean, obviously you had everybody nicely socially distanced there. Was there the two sopranos in a bubble?
Yeah, they both go to the same school and they're friends. So that's why they were next to each other. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have got 3 children who are in the same family, which does make that slightly easier. The previous director of music at the church had, I think, about 7 children, and he had them all there. So, which is always good for a bubble. But anyway, so we've tried to position them. I mean, it's hard because the organ the pipes are at the back of the church. It's all the added excitement of it being live streamed. So for, in the public domain, that's all come online in the last 4 months. So there is kind of extra pressure. So that's really why we've just tried to pick nice and straightforward things that people can sing and enjoy singing. But I mean, that piece has got a few challenges. The descant does do some unexpected things, but it's very rewarding to sing. And actually, the congregation really liked that piece after we did it. In fact, somebody wanted to choose it for the memorial service, which we hadn't been able to have last year. So it can be that's really powerful. So another really powerful piece is the Trinity Sunday by Stuart Beer. Now, this is a setting of words by George Herbert. It starts, Lord, who hast formed me out of mud. So they may not be words that you've or your choruses will have come across before. But this piece is quite ingenious and really effective. It may be more suitable for Lent, but I think it also could be a general anthem, in the time between September and Christmas. So he uses lots of 3-part chords, triads. Okay, and starts off with the melody sung by the sopranos, then 3 parts in homophonic, in a kind of hymn-like way, and then at the end puts the 3 parts in a more polyphonic texture, so in a kind of almost a round where they're singing the line one after another. So just composers being really inventive, and we were really impressed, Tim, I think, weren't we? Yeah, with just the inventive nature that the composers kind of grasp this.
Yeah, it's also a great reflection of the poem itself. If anybody knows George Herbert's Trinity Sunday, it itself is a really fascinating poem. It has 3 verses, each with 3 lines, and there are 3s going all the way through it, and it's just so the music sort of mirrors that Trinity feel all the way through. It's a really inventive piece of music and hugely effective, because of it.
Let's hear it now. So we're going to hear halfway through the 3-part middle section, and then going to the end section where the singers have their kind of individual lines, which kind of all fit together. Thank you. Just something on the organ parts. We've tried. One of the briefs for the composers was actually not to make the organ parts too tricky, so the choir is singing a nice simple melody and the organist is kind of doing virtuosic stuff underneath. You'll find lots of the organ parts quite straightforward, but not only giving a support to the singers, which is obviously important, but also having a kind of independence of themselves. But they can also could be played on a piano if necessary. So we'll turn to a piece by Jeff Weaver, who many of you will know has been associated with the RSCM for many years and has contributed to a lot of RSCM publications. This is a setting of William Vanstone's poem Morning Glory, Starlit Sky. I think everybody's been kind of appreciating nature much more to kind of in lockdown, and this would be something to celebrate that, as well as the resurrection and love and all the gifts of God's world. So this starts with a lovely melody. Who does if I play it right? Really, he marks it espressivo, so it's really expressive. It's a flight of swallows, autumn leaves. So this is maybe a good thing for September, October kind of time. And he starts off with that melody, then embellishes it with the alto line, and then the men join in, and then this, because even though it says on the next page, unison sopranos, you could have that as a solo just to speed up the rehearsal time, or just get that variety. Always look to see how you can get the variety in all these pieces. Just because it says unison sopranos, you don't have to do it. It's only what the composer decided at a particular time of day. Yeah, it's just kind of, be creative and make it work for your particular situation. We're going to listen to a bit of this now. The beginning, actually, this is the beginning that I've played you. So let's hear a bit of Morning Glory, Starlit Sky.
Morning glory, starlit sky, soaring music, scarlet truth, flight of swallows, autumn leaves, memory's treasure, grace of youth. Open are the gifts of God, gifts of love to guide and sense. Hidden is the silent good, love's endeavor, love's expense. Love that gives evermore, gives with zeal within our hands, spares not, keeps not, all outpours, ventures all its extents.
Okay, and then the soprano carries on. So you can see that hopefully people won't be shortchanged by the lack of with only one line in the men. We've tried to get that simplicity, but also enough in it to keep your singers challenged and interested. So, as I mentioned, 5 of the pieces are by female composers, and a composer who has written a lot for the RSCM over the last couple of years is Joanna Forbes Lestrange. You may know some of her husband's Alexandra Exchange. There's pieces. He's written a lot of pieces for schools and for choral societies. So they're a husband and wife team, and she writes a lot of very accessible church music. She set her Saint Richard's prayer, that thanks be to thee, our Lord Jesus Christ, for all the benefits which thou hast won for us. I'm sure we're all familiar with those words in various settings. Joanna used to sing in the Swingle Singers, and the pieces she writes have a kind of freedom, a kind of almost not so much an innocence, but a kind of very straightforward melodies, and very attractive, and sometimes with a simple harmonic language. But I think singers will really enjoy singing the melodies. She's very much a singer as well as a composer, and so the melodies are really kind of lush and enjoyable to sing. So this is St. Richard's Prayer. We're going to hear just the beginning of it. You can hear how it starts off with in unison and then goes into three parts. But they're all very, very straightforward, and I think you'll like this piece.
Thanks be to thee, Lord Jesus Christ, for the benefits which thou hast won for us. Thanks be to thee, Lord Jesus Christ, for the pains and insults thou hast borne for us. Most merciful Redeemer, friend and brother, Saviour, hear our prayer. May we know thee more clearly, may we love thee more dearly, and follow thee.
That's it, as I'm sure he says, day by day. That's it. That's how we end that. So that was just kind of a guide to some of the pieces in that book. We're going to listen to one more just at the end, but there's a lot of variety. We've done some indices as well of all through the year, so it really helps you choose the music for all different occasions that you might come across. Anything else to say on that, Tim?
Well, we've had a question from David Cook, who asks whether we'll be publishing off-prints or producing off-prints on demand, and the answer is yes. If obviously you'll probably need to buy a book to make the choices from, and you might find it very difficult to make those choices because there's so much really good stuff in there. But if there's if you want just one piece from it, then certainly get in touch with the publishing department at the RSCM, and we'll get that in hand for you.
So some other things that you might consider. So though for those of you who sing the Eucharist and sing the parts of the Eucharist, obviously the congregation haven't been joining in, but actually I thought one of the advantages of this could be to teach the congregation a new Mass or a new Eucharistic setting, and they could just hear it a couple of times. Actually, I've been introducing some new things very cunningly. They can't sing them yet, but when they get round to singing them, they'll know them because they'll have heard them during this time. Yeah, I'm a devious choir master. And the one new setting which you might want to have a look at is by Peter Nardone, and it's the Kreger Mass. Do you want to say something about the origin of this, Tim?
Well, yes. Peter wrote this for a choir director he's known for a very long time up in Scotland. Peter himself is from Renfrewshire, and another Peter that he wrote it for has been director of music there for some time. And like a lot of people, a lot of churches, especially when he first wrote it, it was written specifically for a cantor. Before we could even get to 6 people, we were working with just one singer. And so Peter wrote this with with, as you say, teaching the tune to the congregation in mind. And then eventually, when we can all get back together again, there's the SATB parts available as well. So, you know, it's a sort of multi-use setting. It's in very much in the Celtic tradition. So if you know the Christopher Walker Celtic Alleluia, which we do during Easter and well, during Easter, I suppose, you know, it has that same sort of snappish feel to it. It's a really, really attractive setting. And first time we did it in my church in Fordingbridge, I got loads of people from the congregation coming up to me, keeping socially distanced, obviously, but saying how much they obviously didn't get too personal, but saying how much they really enjoyed it. You know, it struck a chord, if you like, with them.
And they weren't all Scottish. They weren't.
None of them was Scottish, I don't think. No. So.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's hear a bit of this. So this is the Holy, the Sanctus, Holy, Holy. Thank you. Good. All the lines really easy to sing, but a good range of notes there. And again, with 4-part harmony, if you want to do that, but they could also work really effectively unaccompanied. I think we've just got enough time to hear the Lamb of God, okay, which is in a similar vein, but it will give you a good idea of the whole Eucharist setting. I think, Tim, there's is there a version for the Catholic liturgy as well, for the Catholic rite as well?
It's on the way. Yes, we're just awaiting approval from oh
yes, that's right,
from the authorities.
The
Right. He's got his own personal copy. But yes, and the Agnus Dei is sung as a cantor. It's the cantor version sung by Richard Hooper.
Okay.
So
let's listen to that. What's nice about that is it's actually quite short, because as many of you will know, the Lamb of God, the Agnus Dei, was written for the breaking of the bread for the fraction rite, which often took a long time, and that's why most Agnus Deis you sing are quite long. But now, obviously, with just the snapping of a wafer, breaking of a wafer, that actual part of the service doesn't take very long, so it's just something that just punctuates that nicely. Is really effective. I was just thinking during that that would be a really nice thing for young people to sing, for children to sing. You know, just they could sing solos, even, you know, it's fairly unexperienced children, if you're trying to encourage them and you want them to sing some music, find some simple things that they can do and they can contribute. Because I think it's really, really so important that everybody in this time when we're almost telling people not to sing, we can't sing, is that they just feel that they find and know that they are valued within the church. And I mean, with any choir, that the whole thing about valuing the singers and valuing their participation and valuing their commitment is really so important. So I hope that's been useful, and that's given you an idea of some of the things you can look at and a good view of the Anthems book. We worked really hard during lockdown, and we created the sequel to the Anthem book, which is the carol book for sopranos, altos, and unison lower voices. We decided that the lower voice could be sung by men or women, so so that's why that has that title. And we'll be doing a webinar in the autumn about this particular book. And this has got 42 carols, so it's even better value for money. But anyway, so we look forward to that, and hopefully, look forward to singing together at Christmas. So this last piece, it comes from the Anthems, Sopranos, Alto, and Men book. It's a prayer of it's a prayer of Saint Teresa. And I wrote it for the opening of the health centre in Westbury-on-Trim. You don't get many commissions from doctors' surgeries, but this was one. And in fact, one of the doctors was very much involved in pilgrimage and did a pilgrimage from Canterbury to Rome, walking, all the way. And so he was very much into kind of new things and commissioning pieces. So this was written in, when was it, 2008. And I think, very much in this time, we're thinking about the health service. We're thinking about everybody's health and, being grateful for everybody involved in the health service at this time. But this is also about using your gifts to pass on to other people, which is what singing in church is all about. And in this time where we've had a lack of freedom, we've been restricted. This piece talks about, let us have the freedom, let this presence, God's presence, settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, to praise and love. And that has been something restricted. So hopefully this piece would be a sign of hope that things will, be or should be well in the future in a couple of months. And this is sung by I can't remember. Oh yes, this is sung by the virtual choir that we got together from some of the members of my parish church choir, and a virtual video, as you will see. So I hope you enjoy it. It's Prayer of Saint Teresa.
May you trust God, you are His
So thank you very much. I hope that's been useful, everybody. Have you got any questions, Tim?
Yeah, we've got one from Mark Elliott, who says, we're just about to restart the groups of 6, having done lots of virtual choir since January. I must admit to being concerned about the politics in the choir of this, balancing musical needs against social needs against liturgical needs. You touched on this, but any more advice on how to handle the rotating groups of 6?
Well, it's good to hear from you, Mark. I trust you to mention politics. Yeah, how to handle it. It's not easy. I'll be honest. I think it's to be open with everybody and say that we can't include everybody, and you can have to. I think I have prioritized the young people and then build from there. So. I mean, what's bizarre is I can have all the young people, but then as soon as I add an adult, I can only then go down to 6. So, and in our church, which doesn't have a very good acoustic, you need an adult, or you don't always need, but it's handy to have a stronger singer with some of the younger people. But sometimes I've tried to pick some music, as I said at the beginning, go back to kind of basics, pick some music that the young people will like singing and build from there, even if it means, singing a bit of Chilcot and Rutter and what have you, or singing something very simple that works really well. So as far as the politics goes, I think we've just got to be very straight with people and say that's the situation. I think people are aware of the situation. They will know the difficulty. It's quite hard to kind of put people in teams, to say, right, you do this week and you do this, because they'll say, oh, well, I'm not there that week, or it won't work. I think it's much better to be kind of led by the music, really, and what you need. I kind of choose the music and then say, well, who do I need to be able to do this well, and then if I haven't got those people, then I maybe need to change the music. So it's kind of led, like everything else, if you like, by the liturgy. I think look at the readings, then look at the piece. That's why I said I need Sunday by Sunday. So it's I'm grateful to the contributors for suggesting things that, but. And I think we have to do it slowly as well. I don't think we have to, necessarily do big anthems. Keep it quite simple. Anything else you want to say on that, Tim? You're good with politics.
Well, don't get me started. But I use a website called choirmanager.com. And I work on I have to say that we're sort of resting the children because I don't have enough to make it. And as you say, it gets very complicated. You've got just 2 children, and then you can't. So essentially, we just have the adults, and I work on a first come first serve basis by getting them to sign up on using Choir Manager, which is it's a very handy little website. And you can it automatically sends reminders to people about whether or not they haven't signed up or things. So it's just www.choirmanager.com, and it's as I say, it's free and it's useful.
I've been having just my weekday rehearsals just with the children, and kind of just rather than whether they're singing on Sunday or not, and just giving them a chance to learn the repertoire, but also just expand what we do a bit. So there's a bit, a bit on theory and a bit, kind of training them for their awards as well. So it's not only learning the music for Sunday, because some of the adults, we have a rehearsal on Sunday morning, and so the adults are kind of able just to come in for that, but actually keeping the kids going on during the week. As a regular kind of activity, I think has been really good, actually, and I think the adults respect that, because they are the singers. Hopefully, they're the singers. They are the group of 6 of tomorrow, and that's really important. I think to keep that going.
There's a question from Sarah Maguire. Sorry, Sarah, I'm not sure I quite understand. Are we now allowed to sing with a choir of under 6 adults on Sundays now? The current regulation is that it's no more than 6.
That's correct, yeah.
And you know, that's what the Church of England are saying, and that's indeed what the Secretary of State for has said in his infinite wisdom.
Exactly. Why 6? Who knows? But,
why 6? Yeah, yeah. I saw on the there's a on the news yesterday. There's a bar full of Welsh supporters in very vocal, you know, things. So it made me wonder, perhaps we ought to hold our choir practices in bars where it doesn't seem to matter whether whether you're 6 or 60.
And you haven't been doing that, Tim. You haven't been... There's lots of pubs in Westborough-on-Trym. Yeah, I know. It's crazy, but I mean, we just have to make the best of the situation and use the resources that are available to our best, and just kind of speaking the truth, speaking music through simple ways, and building on from that. We might not be able to do Finzi God is Gone Up at the moment, but actually, as a quick aside, I did a wedding on Saturday, and they originally wanted Finzi God is Gone Up and Let All the World, and they were both singers and what have you, but we ended up just having 6 singers doing, well, actually we cheated a bit. We had 6 singers in the church and 6 singers in the south porch and 6 singers in the west porch. I mean, they were kind of technically outside, but inside. Well, outside, yes, they were outside,
yes,
and had a kind of surround sound, and it worked marvelously. And everybody says, "Gosh, how creative!" So it's looking at ways that we can be creative within a very tricky situation.
And of course, if we go outside, you can have groups of 30 singing outside. So, or 2 groups of 30, so you could have 60. And we've got an ordination service next month where certainly, I think 2 of the hymns will be outside unless the heavens have opened.
Be fine. What could possibly go wrong? Good.
So
okay.
I think that's Sarah. Yes, this webinar will be available to view again. So don't you worry. But I think that brings us to a close now. Thank you very much, David, for your imparting your wisdom, which I think we all appreciate. And we'll look forward to seeing you and everybody else when we discuss RSCM carols later on in the year.
Thank you very much. Good luck, everyone. Good luck with your sextets on Sunday mornings. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much, and bye-bye for now.
Bye.